Hello, friends. So, we're gonna start up our first lecture from the topic if inflation. Before we start the topic, there are some important points that I would like to discuss with you guys. Those would be that, while preparing these lectures, I am assuming that you guys are already thorough with the 11th and 12th NCERT because that is the basic. If not, then please do mention in the comment section so that we can prepare a lecture series on those NCRT. But I would suggest that you should read because understanding 11th and 12th NCRT is going to be critical for you. So, before starting the preparation, I would suggest that you go through the NCRT once. And about these lecture series, I have broken down these topics into some major headings. First will be the memory map, where I'll be telling you something about the topic so that you get the understanding of what the topic is and what is, what exactly is there. It's from the learning point of view. The second will be the definition, where I will be quoting some standard definitions of this particular topic, and then we'll move to some other important aspects of this particular topic. So, first, let us understand what inflation is. So, for understanding inflation, let us first consider a hypothetical situation of a country. Let's suppose a room, and let's suppose that room to be a country in which there are only two people. Each one of them is having a 10 rupees note, and there are only 2 kg of rice present in the room. So here, if you will try to calculate the cost of per kg rice, then you will divide the total amount which is present inside the room by the total produce which is there, that is the 2 kg. So you will come to get the value as 10 rupees per kg. So for us, the initial amount of rice was 10 rupees per kg. Now one of the guy gets a plan of cheating. Okay, and he gets a fake currency note, which is nothing but your parallel economy in other sense. So let's just not complicate things and keep it simple and say that he gets a fake note of 10 rupees more. So now the total amount of money that is there in the room is 30 rupees. Initially they were having 10 rupees each. Now one of them is having a 10 rupees note more. So there are 30 rupees. But the catch here is that the produce, which was rice in this case, is still 2 kg. That is, the amount of production that was there initially in the room is same. It has not increased. So in this case, if you calculate the amount of the price of rice, then you will have to divide 30 rupees by 2. That will give you 15 rupees per kg. So now the price of rice has increased up by 5 rupees, and that is due to the fake currency which was there in the system. So this is inflation. It's a classical case of inflation where the extra amount of money that is, pushed into the system creates inflation. And that is the general tendency or general idea behind the inflation. Uh, so this was the basic understanding of inflation. Apart from that, see, this was the effect of money that has been induced in the market, and it is causing the rise in price of the articles. Now, what this inflation, once there is inflation, what this inflation will do to savings? So there is another example that I will take. Consider that there is an article जिसकी जो initial cost है that is 100 rupees. Okay. Now let's suppose instead of buying that article, what you did was you took that money, that 100 rupees, and you put it in bank in an FD. Okay. So FD bank is giving you an interest rate of 6%, but the inflation which is flowing up is 9%. Okay, this was the case few years back in India when the inflation was somewhere between 9 and 10. So at that time this case was present. So the bank is giving you 6% per annum and the inflation is 9%, and you put your money in the bank in a form of FD. Now what happens is that after an year the price of that particular article will be 109 rupees, but the FD, the amount that the FD will fetch you will be 106 rupees. In that case, you are, in some sense, in one sense, if you look from the bank's perspective, it is providing you the money. But in the other sense, or in the real sense, you are actually facing a loss. So you are having a negative interest rate. So here we will come to deal with the real interest rate and the normal interest rate. These are the two terms. If you talk about the real interest rate, then it is the nominal interest rate minus the inflation, which will in our case be minus 3%, because 6% is what the nominal interest rate is. The bank is giving you that, and the 9% is inflation. So that will fetch you minus 3%. So in this case, if you're putting your money in a form of FD, then you're actually incurring a loss. So this is how inflation affects the savings. So in this case, RBI or some other governing body, in Indian case there's RBI, in US there is Federal Reserve, and similarly in other countries. So they will come in and they will increase the rate of interest. So the overall interest of the investor stays intact. So this was what the inflation was. Now you have some idea what inflation is. Okay, so let's just jump on and find what the definitions are. So if you go by the book, the definition says that a rise in general level of price, a sustained rise in general level of price, persistent increase in general level of price, or an increase in general level of price for a sustained period of time is known as inflation. So in short, what it says is that inflation is not just the shooting up of prices of a single article. If the price of all the articles is going up for a significant amount of time, then it is called inflation. This is the formula by which we calculate the rate of inflation. So the rate of inflation can be calculated by price level in a particular year minus the price level of the previous year divided by the price level of previous year whole multiplied into 100, because this is basically percentage that we are calculating, so we'll multiply it by 100. One thing that is important in any economic calculation is that we do all these measurements on a point to point basis. What I mean by point to point basis is that if you are calculating the inflation of a particular year on, say, January 1st, then you have to calculate, or you can compare it with the inflation rate on the January 1st of the consecutive year. You cannot compare January 1st to December 31st data. That will be incorrect. Okay. So now, general definition is known to us. What is inflation? We already know. Okay. Now, what causes inflation? So there was two theories which were given to actually explain why inflation occurs. So we all know the demand and supply curve, because that is the basic microeconomics. So here the first cause is the demand pull inflation. So what this says is that if the demand of a certain good increases at the same level of supply, then there is a demand pull inflation. How this works is that, suppose there is a supply of X amount of article at rupees 10, say 3 pens are present at rupees 10 each. Now there is an exam on the very next day, and 10 people came to buy the pen. So the amount of pen in the market is less, but the people who need pen, because the next day there's an exam, so they will be willing to pay higher for the same pen. So now the price will shoot up. So this is called as demand pull inflation. While there's the other factor is the cost push inflation. In this case, suppose the raw material that was needed to make the pen, that is the ink, the steel tip, or the plastic which is used, that rises. So the overall pen is made through these things only. So if the price of raw materials will increase, then the cost of overall pen will increase. This is nothing but cost push inflation. So these are the two ways where, by which the inflation is caused. And this was the earlier theory, the Keynesian theory. Later on there was another theory which actually said that whenever there is external supply of money, extra supply of money in the market, it can be by demand or cost push anywhere, that triggers these two kind of inflation. So whenever there is extra surplus amount of money in the market, it causes inflation. That is the latest theory. So yeah, now what are the measures that the government can take to check inflation? So this you can understand very simply. Okay, suppose there is a supply, this demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation is what? Demand is higher and supply is lower. So how can you know get rid of this kind of inflation? By providing extra supply. जब आपके पास डिमांड ज़्यादा है, सप्लाई कम है, तो आप एक्स्ट्रा सप्लाई दोगे शॉर्ट टर्म के लिए, तो आप दोनों को बैलेंस आउट कर जाओगे. उस तरह से हम शॉर्ट टर्म में इस तरह के इन्फ्लेशन से डील कर सकते हैं, जो कि हमारा डिमांड पुल इन्फ्लेशन होता है. लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए अगर आपको इस तरह के इन्फ्लेशन से जूझना है, तो इन दैट केस व्हाट वी विल डू इज वी विल इंक्रीज आवर प्रोडक्शन. शॉर्ट टर्म में आप कहीं से खरीद के सप्लाई बढ़ा दो. लॉन्ग, जैसे मान लो पेन की शॉप है, उसके पास 3 पेन है, लेकिन 10 लोग हैं खरीदने वाले और इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ रहा है, तो वो क्या करे, किसी और शॉप से किसी और जगह से 7 पेन लिया है, 10 पेन हो जाएंगे, डिमांड सप्लाई बैलेंस आउट हो जाएगी और पैसा वापस बराबर हो जाएगा, मतलब जो इन्फ्लेशन है वो ज़ीरो हो जाएगा. एक और केस ये हो सकता है कि अगली बार जो जो शॉपकीपर है, वो अपने वेंडर से बोले कि अब लॉन्ग टर्म में एग्ज़ाम आते रहेंगे कंटिन्यूसली, सो व्हाट यू डू इज़ यू प्रोवाइड मी विथ मोर सप्लाई ऑफ पेन्स, यू स्टार्ट प्रोड्यूसिंग मोर so that I get more pen so that I can supply it to the market. ये लॉन्ग टर्म हुआ. तो शॉर्ट टर्म में अगर आप इस तरह के इन्फ्लेशन को देखोगे, तो एक बार आपको याद होगा जब एक अनियन क्राइसिस हुए थे इंडिया के अंदर, तो हमारा जो बफर स्टॉक है वो भी ऑलमोस्ट ख़त्म होने को आ गया था. तो इन दैट केस वी इम्पोर्टेड लॉट ऑफ ओनियन फॉर द शॉर्ट टर्म मेजर, एज अ शॉर्ट टर्म मेजर. लेटर ऑन हमने अपनी प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ा ली थी, बफर स्टॉक वापस राइज कराया था. सो द अदर टाइप इज कि जब कॉस्ट पुश इन्फ्लेशन हो, इन दैट केस गवर्नमेंट हमारी हेल्प कर सकती है. इन शॉर्ट टर्म जो रॉ मटेरियल्स हैं उन पे जो भी ड्यूटी लगती है या जो भी टैक्सेस गवर्नमेंट इम्पोज करती है फिनिश गुड पे, उसको कम कर दे. तो इससे क्या होगा कि जो इनपुट फैक्टर्स होते हैं उनकी कॉस्ट कम होगी एंड ओवरऑल जो पेन की कॉस्ट है वो कम हो जाएगी. सो और अगर लॉन्ग टर्म में इफ़ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, देन द गवर्नमेंट और आरबीआई कैन रिड्यूस देयर ratios. There are various ratios which we will deal on in future lectures. cash reserve ratio, which is the CRR, SLR is statutory liquidity ratio, वो सब कम करके और repo rates arrange करके we can take a long term effect. Now this is done. Now the next topic is types of inflation. So basically there is three type of inflation. First is low inflation. As the name suggests, low inflation is an inflation in which the inflation rate is below 2 digit. जैसे अभी इंडिया में चल रहा है, वी हैव सेट अ टारगेट फॉर 4 ± 2 कि हमारी या तो 4+2 होगी या 4-2 होगी, इसी बैंडविड्थ के बीच में हम अपनी इन्फ्लेशन को रखेंगे। टारगेट हमने ये किया है। सो दैट इज बिलो 2 digit, मतलब 10 से कम जो भी इन्फ्लेशन है दैट इज लो इन्फ्लेशन। नेक्स्ट कम्स द गैलोपिंग इन्फ्लेशन। गैलोपिंग इन्फ्लेशन अभी आप लेटेस्ट केस देखोगे तो वेनेजुएला का है, जहाँ पे अभी उनकी जो क्राइसिस आई हुई है उसके कारण इन्फ्लेशन हैज़ रीच्ड इनटू triple more than triple digits. So galloping inflation is in 2 or 3 digits, मतलब 100 के ऊपर और 1000 के आसपास जो रहता है उसके नीचे, that is galloping inflation. The third case is hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is, it's the peak point of inflation where the inflation rate is in 3 to 4 digits, or it is anything about above galloping inflation is hyperinflation. Classical example I have mentioned is that after the First World War there was this crisis in Germany. वहाँ पे इतना ज़्यादा इन्फ्लेशन हो गया था कि the people, they were in winter season, instead of buying wood, क्योंकि wood का cost बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गया था, they started burning the currency itself, क्योंकि currency इतना surplus हो गया था कि अगर आप wood लेने जाओगे तो you have to take a truckload of currency to buy few chunks of woods. तो इंस्टेड ऑफ बाइंग वुड पीपल स्टार्टेड बर्निंग द करेंसी इटसेल्फ, क्योंकि एक ट्रक लोड ले जाने से बेटर है कि आप उस ट्रक में जो पैसा है उसको जला लो, उसी से यू विल गेट द फ्लेम। सो दैट वाज द हाइपर इन्फ्लेशन केस। अब नेक्स्ट टॉपिक जो आता है इन्फ्लेशन में, दैट इज द फिलिप्स कर्व। सो इन्फ्लेशन की जब हम बात करते हैं, देयर इज वेरी डिफरेंट वेरिड थ्योरीज which were related to inflation. So one of the theory is this Phillips curve. This person Phillips, he came up with the idea that जब आपका इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ेगा, यानी कि जब हर चीज़ की कॉस्ट बढ़ेगी, तो जो प्रोड्यूसर होंगे दे विल एम्प्लॉय मोर पीपल, बिकॉज उनको ज़्यादा प्रॉफिट मिल रहा होगा। आप समझ रहे हैं? जैसे मान लो एक पेन है, अब द कॉस्ट ऑफ दैट पेन इंक्रीज्ड, सो आई एम अर्निंग मोर बाय सेलिंग दैट पेन, ऑल्दो जो रियल रेट है दैट इज लेस, बिकॉज मैं इन्फ्लेशन को काउंट ही नहीं कर रहा हूँ, बट नॉमिनल रेट जो मुझे दिखेगा वो ये दिखेगा, आई एम अर्निंग मोर प्रॉफिट। सो व्हाट आई विल डू इज दिस विल ट्रिगर a phenomena in which I will try and produce more of this pen or more of the article. In that case I will employ more people. So there is the reverse ratio that came up in Phillips curve, which says that whenever inflation increases, the unemployment will reduce or the employment rate will increase. Okay, so there is an inverse relation between inflation and unemployment. That is what Phillips said. But then in 1970s, there were two American economists, Milton Friedman and Edmund Phillips. They challenged this Phillips curve. They said, no, this is not the case. This is what you are talking about in short term. देखो, economics में whenever we talk in long term or short term. Short term is when we are talking about a period of 5 to 10 years or something like that, and long term is when we are talking beyond that. So what they said is that in short term, if you're talking about these two aspects, then your relation is fine, कि अगर इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ेगा तो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट घटेगा, दैट रिलेशन इज परफेक्ट इन शॉर्ट टर्म। बट लॉन्ग टर्म में क्या होगा, पीपल विल come to know that there is a hike, okay, somewhere, so they will start demanding more. It's just like you cannot employ more people at the same level. अंडरस्टैंड, ट्राई एंड अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट जो इन्होंने कहा यहाँ पे, वो ये था कि व्हेन द प्राइस विल राइज, एंड यू विल ट्राई टू हायर मोर पीपल एट द सेम लेबर कॉस्ट। उसी लेबर कॉस्ट में आप और लोगों को लाओगे तो उनको सैलरी तो कम ही मिल रही है ना, और क्योंकि आप मार्केट में सामान का प्राइस महंगा हो गया है तो उनका उस सैलरी में काम नहीं चलेगा, सो दे विल ट्राई एंड आस्क फॉर मोर मनी, दे विल डिमांड मोर मनी, एंड इन दैट केस आपकी फैक्टर कॉस्ट इंक्रीज हो जाएगी। एंड आपका जो इनिशियल जो ट्रेंड था, जो आप सोच रहे थे कि अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट डिक्रीज होगी, वो नहीं होगी। इट विल कम बैक टू इट्स नॉर्मल पोजिशन और इट्स नेचुरल रेट। सो यहाँ पे एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट टर्म आती है विच इज़ NAIRU, विच इज़ द नॉन एक्सेलरेटिंग इन्फ्लेशन रेट ऑफ अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट। It is the lowest rate of unemployment which can be sustained by an economy without any upward pressure on the inflation rate। मतलब ये वो मिनिमम अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट का रेट है जो कोई भी इकॉनमी सस्टेन कर सकती है बिना इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ाए या घटाए। इन्फ्लेशन की जो कर्व है उस पर प्रेशर दी है, मतलब अगर आप इन्फ्लेशन को टच नहीं करते, इन्फ्लेशन को सेम रखते हैं, तो इतना अमाउंट ऑफ ऑफ अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट तो रहेगा ही आपकी उसमें। तो दिस इज फिक्स, दिस इज स्टैटिक टर्म विच इज यूज्ड। अब once this all is finished, then there are few other terms which are related to inflation itself. So first is stagflation. It's a situation in the economy when inflation and employment both are at the higher levels contrary to belief। तो stagflation एक वो situation होती है जब आपकी इकोनॉमी के अंदर इन्फ्लेशन भी हायर है और अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट भी ज़्यादा है। आइडियली अकॉर्डिंग टू फिलिप्स कर्व होना क्या चाहिए कि अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट घटनी चाहिए जब इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ेगा तो, लेकिन कुछ केसेस में ऐसा नहीं होता है। दिस इज एन आउटकम ऑफ द विशियस साइकिल ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन, जो इन्फ्लेशन ट्रिगर करता है मार्केट के अंदर। सो दिस इज एन आउटपुट ऑफ दैट स्टैगफ्लेशन, उसका एक आउटपुट है। द नेक्स्ट थिंग इज रिफ्लेशन, एंड इट इज ऑल्सो, you know, it is sometimes it is also known as it is known as reflation, where when the economy is going from recession, so what government do is they increase the prices of certain goods, so that to induce some more money, मतलब खुद से गवर्नमेंट इंक्रीज करती है प्राइजेस, सो रिसेशन से बचने के लिए या रिसेशन को ओवरकम करने के लिए, दैट इज कॉल्ड रिफ्लेशन। Then last one is Qflation. Then last one is Qflation. Okay, तो इससे पहले इन्फ्लेशन में all the goods, the price of all the goods increases, but in case of Qflation, a certain group of articles are there, उनका प्राइस शूट अप करता है। लाइक इन जनरल ट्रेंड रूड ऑयल का प्राइस, इट ट्रिगर्स एवरीथिंग एल्स, बट अगर सस्टेन पीरियड के लिए आप मान लो कि रूड ऑयल से बाकी चीज़ों की डिपेंडेंसी हट जाए, जो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन एवरीथिंग एल्स, एक हाइपोथेटिकल सिचुएशन में व्हेन इट विल रन ऑन नॉन कन्वेंशनल रिसोर्सेज, देन अगर रूड ऑयल के प्राइसेस बढ़ेंगे सो दैट विल बी कॉल्ड एज क्यूफ्लेशन, क्योंकि वहाँ पे सिर्फ रूड ऑयल का प्राइस बढ़ेगा और बाकी चीज़ों का प्राइस, क्योंकि रूड ऑयल पे उस टाइम डिपेंडेंट नहीं रहेगा तो उनका प्राइस नहीं बढ़ेगा। सो जब ऐसा केस आएगा कि एक सर्टेन ग्रुप या एक सर्टेन कमोडिटी का ही सिर्फ प्राइस बढ़ रहा है, कुछ इंटरनल या किसी और फैक्टर के कारण वो रिप्लेनिश वो ख़त्म हो गया है या रिलिंक्विश हो रहा है, तो उस रीज़न से उसका अगर प्राइस बढ़ेगा और बाकी चीज़ों पे उसका इम्पैक्ट नहीं पड़ेगा, देन इट इज़ कॉल्ड स्क्यूफ्लेशन। So these were all the topics. I think the time we have overcrossed the time, so I'll end up here only. We'll take up another topic, and to the link to this these notes will be provided in the description of this particular video. You can check that out if you want some short notes which you can carry on with you, and later on you can revise from that. Then you can get it from the link which is in the description. So please do that. Okay, thank you.